have a pretty complex opinion of the Netflix original series Atypical, but generally feel pretty positively about the series, as I've discussed in a previous video of mine. But between its 4 seasons, there were some episodes I enjoyed more than others, and today I'm going to talk about how much I enjoyed each episode of its first season. But first, I want to give a warm welcome to anyone who's watching my content for the first time. If that's you, I'm Laura Youngblood, and I post a new video essay every 4 to 5 days here at From Laura's Perspective. Sometimes it's on a TV show like it is today, other times it's on music or musicals, but it can also be on politics, history, art, nature, and other topics that could be of interest to anyone. If you're part of that anyone, my channel's the one for you to subscribe to. But don't just subscribe. Also tap the bell icon and turn it black so that your device goes off every time I add content to my video essay library. Even if you have been to my channel before, I want to welcome you to a new series of mine called Rankings. In this series, I list all items of a certain group, such as episodes of a TV show or songs on an album, in order from my least favorite to my most favorite, or in terms of other qualities. But enough about that. Time to list off atypical episodes from my least favorite to most favorite. Since I'm discussing major plot points in Atypical, a spoiler warning is in effect. So we're going to start off with my least favorite episode of this season, episode 7, I Lost My Poor Meatball. In the second to last episode of Atypical's first season, Elsa Gardner, Sam's mother, finally comes to her senses and decides to end her affair with bartender Nick. Speaking of Sam, he spends the episode preparing to meet his girlfriend Paige's parents in the next episode by casing the joint at Olive Garden and devising a checklist to determine whether he loves Paige. By the end, Casey learns that she's been admitted to the prestigious private school Clayton Prep, and soon after she catches her mom breaking off her affair with Nick when she rides her bike past them at the bar. This episode is my personal least favorite from the season, as I felt it was very slow-paced. The title actually refers to a friend of Nick's whose memorial Elsa attends, which is hardly the point of the episode. Atypical viewers were none too pleased with Elsa's decision to even start an affair with Nick in the first place. So seeing her take too long throughout this episode to finally stop it kind of pissed me off, as I'm sure it did many others. Also, the winter formal that's been built up to in the previous episodes and is to take place in the next one isn't much of a point in this episode. In fact, it's barely even mentioned. Seems a little odd, to be honest. Coming in at second to last place, we have episode number 4, A Nice Neutral Smell. This episode is important to the overall story of Atypical because it's the episode in which Sam's relationship with classmate Paige Hardaway is kick-started. I was a little bit bothered by the fact that Sam is encouraged to make a pros and cons list about a potential lover. Although it's great that Sam's trying to learn about her before deciding whether to date her, the list and a lot of the things he put in it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like it seemed like a form of objectification, if that makes sense. Also, I wasn't too big on the track meet scene at the beginning, where Sam's grabbing a random girl's ponytail while overwhelmed, and then falls and cuts himself. I don't know why. I was just kind of bitter about that, and about Elsa and Doug insisting that Casey can't take the offer to transfer to Clayton Prep because they need her to take care of Sam at Newton. Nonetheless, it's nice to see Sam's friendship with Zahid, his relationship with Paige, and Casey's relationship with Evan Chapin budding over the family dinner scene. In 6th place is the season and series premiere, Antarctica. This episode introduces us to Sam Gardner and his family, which consists of his overprotective mother Elsa, his EMT father Doug, and his track-running, wisecracking younger sister Casey. We learn that Sam attends weekly sessions with a therapist named Julia and that he wants to find a girlfriend. After a disastrous attempt at online dating, Sam finds that the woman he wants to date is Julia. Meanwhile, Casey finds herself suspended from school after she punches a girl named Bailey Bennett in the face after Bailey vandalizes plus-size Beth Chapin's locker with the word orca. Following this incident, Casey's romantic relationship with Beth's older brother Evan starts to bud. The reason I ranked this episode so low is that after binge watching Atypical so many times, this whole introductory episode where nothing's really been set into motion is a little boring to me. Also, as I mentioned in a previous video, Sam Gardner's character is a little stereotypical of the autistic community, and Antarctica is the episode in which these stereotypes make themselves most obvious. Coming in at number 5 is episode number 5, That's My Sweatshirt. This episode marks the next step in Sam and Paige's relationship since it was sparked in the previous one, A Nice Neutral Smell. Even as things progress, however, Sam isn't sure what to do when Paige touches all of his belongings and steals his favorite sweatshirt from his closet. At one point, Sam is so rattled by this that he actually locks Paige in his closet. This did bother me a little, since even though he has some social skills problems, he should know better than to do that. After Casey urges Paige to break up with Sam, Sam truly realizes his mistake. He makes it up to Paige by giving her a penguin necklace as a gift, an object that is hugely important in the season finale. Now we're in the winning half of the episodes, with our number 4 entry being episode number 6, The D Train to Bonetown. This is the episode that sets this season's winter formal story arc in motion. Sam is initially reluctant to go for fear that the crowds and loud music will be too much for him to handle. This inspires Paige to propose to the PTA that the event be autism friendly, i.e., the music is played through wireless headphones on which the wearer can adjust the volume. One thing that motivates Sam to go to the dance, however, is the notion that he and Paige might have sex afterwards. With this, Zahid teaches Sam about the 4 bases and helps him meet each one in preparation for potentially losing his virginity to Paige. I do have a bit of an issue with this, as it's a covert form of sexual objectification, but I really do love the gesture Paige makes for Sam. Casey has some drama when word gets out that she might switch to Clayton and her track teammates start to give her the cold shoulder. After a dress shopping debacle, Casey and her best friend Charisse mend fences at the Gardner house, and they agree to go to the dance together. Evan isn't an option for Casey to go to the dance with, since he's been expelled from the school due to an incident I'll discuss later. I love this episode for the relationship progress, drama, and inciting incidents included within it. But this wasn't enough for D Train to Bonetown to make it into my top 3 episodes. I gave the lowest of these to the show's second episode, A Human Female. In the show's second episode, Sam has made the decision to try to make Julia his girlfriend. Although this is a huge no-no, it's a pretty relatable moment for any boy who ever had a crush on a teacher or other female adult in their teens, autistic or neurotypical. Sam is frustrated to learn that Julia has a boyfriend named Miles, so he sets out to steal Julia away from him, so to speak. Sam confides in his father about his feelings, but does not initially specify that the girl he has a crush on is his therapist. Doug doesn't realize that until after he's already taken Sam to her house and sees him breaking in with the box of chocolate-covered strawberries. While Doug is making Sam leave, a strawberry falls out, leaving Julia suspicious that Miles may be having an affair. Doug explains to Sam that a relationship between him and Julia would lead to a conflict of interest, which would prevent Julia from being his therapist. So Sam's new plan is to get a practice girlfriend from his school with the intent of having Julia stop being his therapist when he feels he's ready to date her. As someone with autism who's often found myself twisting the meaning of what people say, I can see why Sam would come up with the plan he did. But even before I was Sam's age, I knew that for a therapist to date their minor client is totally taboo, no matter what. Remember how I said earlier that Evan was expelled from Newton? Well, in this episode, Evan reveals that this happened after he stole a tuba from the band room when the door was unlocked. Our runner-up is the season's third episode, Julia Says. This episode is my second favorite from season 1 for 2 reasons. The first is that it shows how heavily Sam relies on his therapist's advice for reasons that go beyond her merely being his therapist and how his mother, Elsa, feels about this. Spoiler alert, she does not like that Julia is supposedly pushing Sam to start venturing out and doing things like finding a girlfriend. The second reason why I like this episode so much is that this is the episode in which both Casey and the audience learn that Doug left the family for 6 months after Sam was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. At first, this makes Casey cold and resentful towards her father. But after the two talk it out, their close relationship is mended. This family secret turns out to be very important in later parts of the series, which I'll get into when I rank the episodes of later seasons. And finally, our number 1 spot, which goes to the season finale, The Silencing Properties of Snow. This is my favorite episode of season 1 because it's the episode where everything that's gone on since the series premiere comes to a head. The episode begins with Sam having dinner at Olive Garden with Paige's parents, as he'd prepared to do in the previous episode. However, Sam leaves in the middle of the meal, telling Paige and her parents that he does not actually love her, but rather loves his therapist, Julia. Sam finally decides it's time to tell Julia how he feels about her, bringing her chocolate-covered strawberries to do so. Julia does not react well to this and says very harsh things to him in a very angry tone. This causes Sam to become very upset and have a meltdown while taking the bus home. While recovering to decompress from this meltdown, Paige has a meltdown of her own on the Gardner front lawn. This makes Sam realize that, as he puts it, I made Paige feel the way Julia made me feel, which is very bad. Sam resolves to make amends to Paige by finding the penguin necklace she'd lost a few days before, which Sam had given to her in That's My Sweatshirt. This episode is my favorite because it showcases Sam as a complex but ultimately very empathetic and caring individual. He cares enough about Paige to jump into a pool, which he does not want to do since other people have touched that water, to retrieve the penguin necklace that meant so much to her. This episode ends on many cliffhangers that leave viewers excited for the next season. These include Doug finding out about Elsa's affair, Sam and Paige deciding to hold off on any kind of relationship until Sam knows what he wants, and Miles proposing marriage to a pregnant Julia. Thank you all so much for watching. This is simply my opinion of which episodes of Season 1 of Atypical were the best. If you yourself watch Atypical, you may or may not agree with my picks. The same will go for all of my rankings videos, whatever show or album they may center around. If you like this video, you're sure to also like my many other video essays, which are on a wide array of topics, so I'm sure to have something that interests you. I've included some links to these up on your screen. Click on them to check them out if they look like things you might want to hear or learn more about. To get access to all of it, subscribe to my channel and also tap the bell icon so your phone goes off every time I post content that might be of interest to you. You can also follow me on my Instagram and TikTok, which I've included links to down below and are extensions of my channel. Hope to see you next time.